Welcome back to Bad Take Philly Fantasy Football Edition. This is our episode about top 24 running backs. If you missed the last video, go check out. I blew up a little bit. Thank you for the support on that. It was top 24 wide receivers. If you're new here, hit subscribe. We got fantasy football content coming out a couple times a week. We're going to keep doing it through the season too. If you want to win your leagues, hit subscribe, hit like, and follow. All right.
Let's get into it.
So just for a disclaimer real fast, this is about PPR settings. And that's really the only rule that we have. It's our top 24. And we're going to do it by tiers. So for the first tier, I have Taylor and CMC up there.
Yep.
It's pretty clear and obvious, I'd say.
They're the
Taylor.
top two, like
Yeah.
any league you go to, it's Taylor, CMC, first two picks, or they should be.
It should be.
So
you're getting unlimited safety with Taylor. Doesn't really get hurt. Has probably the most secure workload in the league. And then in CMC, you're just getting that league-winning upside. I saw this stat the other day that he averages over 18 points a game, without scoring touchdowns in PPR settings, which is just absolutely insane. Both have concerns. CMC has way more concerns with his injury history, of course. Frank Reich, who's the head coach of the Colts, came out the other day and said that they want to limit Taylor's workload. We're not going to limit it a ton, but I could see him going from more than like high 20s in carries to the low 20s in carries, and maybe losing a target or two, but he'll still be an elite option in your fantasy drafts. They should definitely go 1 and 2.
So
overall.
let's say I am a first-time fantasy footballer, and I have the number 1 overall pick. And I say, hey, Dalton, can you help me out here? You say, okay, I'm your friend. I'll help you out. And I say, who do I take number 1 overall? What do you say back?
I'm saying Jonathan Taylor.
Jonathan Taylor.
Because it's just safe. It's easy. You put in your lineup, you forget about it. It's guaranteed points.
Yeah.
So then the next tier, which you're moving more towards your mid to back end first rounders here. I have Eckler, Cook, and Najee for your tier 2 running backs.
Yeah. Like Eckler is great for PPR, gets a lot of like catches and stuff. He's like a bit worse version of CMC.
But he's more healthy.
More healthy.
Yeah.
So that's good. And like with third pick, like he's just good and he's in a great offense. Great quarterback. Like you're not gonna worry about anything in that offense. And then Cook, about the same, gets receiving work and stuff, but a bit worse offense and has a bit of injury concern. I'm pretty sure he's missed games in every single
Yeah.
year.
If you get Cook, you definitely have to get Madison later.
Yeah.
But yeah, just like all 3 backs are receiving backs as well as their team's goal line backs, as well as just total workhorse. Like they're 3 stud players. They're all going to be good for your teams. Eckler last year had a very high touchdown rate, which he might be able to do again. They drafted Isaiah Spiller, who might take some of those goal line carries, but all 3 of these guys I would say are very safe besides injury concern for Cook. Najee's on a little bit of a worse offense compared to the first 2. With the Vikings and Chargers are very elite offenses, which gives both their running backs like 20 touchdown upside.
Yeah.
Whereas Najee on the Steelers, a little bit worse offense, maybe closer to like an upside of 16 touchdowns max, probably closer to the 10 range though.
He does get more targets and more catches to make up for that.
Yeah, so just like 3 also just slam dunk picks mid and first round. Can't go wrong really.
And just to note, this is the first 2 tiers of PPR where this is like the elite running backs with elite like catching potential. Like after this, there's a bit of a drop off in like the points per reception part. You could.
I mean, Swift and Kamara are coming up soon, and they both have this high upside, but they have much more concerns with other stuff. So I guess we can get to the next tier. We'll do the first 3 of the next tier. So it's Mixon, Swift, and then Kamara. Want to take Mixon?
Yeah, so I love Mixon this year, as I didn't like him last year and liked him the year before, I think. But like he's like just on a great offense. He can catch the ball, like he can run, he gets a lot of touchdowns, and like, he just does everything you need, and you can get him at like a good price most of the time. So because people don't like him due to like prior injuries and like I don't know, he had a really bad like just overall like look in the last couple of years, but like he's still great, and I think he's gonna improve a lot this year. So
yeah, he's definitely got another one of those running backs on just an elite offense, has upside for 20 touchdowns. He was RB4 last year. Definitely has the least amount of receiving work out of like pretty much all the backs named so far. Maybe him and Taylor are pretty close, but he does score a lot of touchdowns. He's going to have those big games. He's going to have those big runs.
Who's running back 2 in the offense?
Chris
Yeah, they don't have to,
Evans.
Samaje.
Yeah.
but those guys do steal targets. Like he does not get a lot of targets out of the backfield. Last year he got a little more than I think the year before, but it's still like 3 a game max. So he's going to have a lower floor per game than a lot of those other running backs, but his ceiling is up there with the touchdown upside.
Yeah.
Swift as a player, I absolutely love this year. I would be targeting Swift in every single draft that you have in the back end of the first/early second or mid second if you're in a less competitive league. Who don't know what they're doing. Swift has the upside to be the number 1 running back in all fantasy, in my opinion. He could have the most catches of any running back. He does get some goal line work. He could take over the goal line job, and it's going to be an offense that's much improved from last year. They have a lot of weapons. And he just has so much upside. He's a great player. He's still young compared to some other guys who are a little bit older with a little more concern about they could fall off a little bit. So Swift's a slam dunk pick in my opinion.
Then we get to Kamara, and I like Kamara this year, and I've had him before, and he's been great, and he's a very talented running back. He can catch it. He's great after the catch, but like I was just a bit worried this year with people coming back and them getting Olave, Landry,
Michael Thomas back.
Michael Thomas back. Like he's gonna get less receiving work than he was, and he was not gonna get force fed the ball like he was last year and when Michael Thomas was there and stuff. So like that end, like the quarterback changes are still like not solid with Winston and stuff. So it could be like a bit of a down year for the receiving and stuff, but he has the like ceiling of getting like a bunch of catches per game.
Another downside is that he beat the crap out of that one guy with his friends,
Yes.
which was not a good idea by him. We've not condoned that. And it's looking less and less likely that he gets suspended this year because they're pushing back his court case, and the NFL cannot suspend a player until the court case has been finished. So he does have a little bit of a risk if you're drafting now. Like it's not completely clear if he could be suspended for like the fantasy playoffs, which would be highly unfortunate if you drafted him. But we're assuming that he does not get suspended. He's still a low end RB1, so mid RB1. Pretty safe, I'd say, if he does play. He's going to have a lot of receptions, he's going to have a lot of touchdowns, and he's going to be a focal point in that offense. I think we're actually higher on him than most people. I think he's usually like closer to RB12. Just another very safe pick as long as he does not have
His upside's
suspension.
just there. So
Yeah.
pretty high.
He could be RB1 any week of the
Yeah.
year for sure. So then the next 2 players that round off this tier are one of them is actually I can say both are very controversial players. One is Derrick Henry, who, in my opinion, is a very risky pick this year. And we also have Saquon Barkley, who I absolutely love this year. So I'll take Henry, and you can take Saquon if you want. Obviously has been a very good player for a lot of years, and has been an elite scorer, probably the best pure runner we've seen since like Adrian Peterson. He's been an absolute animal on the ground. However, I saw some stats recently, and it was very, very concerning. So the Titans overall have a worse offense than last year because they lost AJ Brown. In games where the Titans lose, Derrick Henry averages closer to about 12 points a game, versus games where they win, he averages about 24 points a game, which is a massive difference. And for a team that's probably not going to win as many games as they usually do, that's a bit concerning because Henry is a player that in a PPR setting, like he could go out and get you like 7 points in a given week, where like these other running backs are not really going to do that. They're going to have a nice floor. Derrick Henry just has a very low floor for every week. Also, it's a very high ceiling. I don't know. I just have a bad feeling about him this year. I think he's going to have some boom weeks. Of course, he's always going to have those boom weeks. He's getting up there in age. I just feel like he's going to have a couple more of those like dud weeks, which you really just don't want out of your first round pick.
But now he has some metal in his foot too, right?
Yeah, so he obviously had the injury last year too, which is not a huge concern, but it's there.
It's there.
Any player can get hurt though.
Any player can get hurt. Saquon Barkley. He can get hurt.
Does get hurt.
But no, I was really low on him at the end of last year, and then he finally seemed to like, or at going into last season, I was really low on Saquon, and then he finally started to do well, and then he got hurt again, and then he wasn't really the same towards the end of last year. But going into this year, everything's looked good in camp, and he's looked very strong.
Mm-hmm.
So there's no reason to think he can't go to his like a couple weeks of being healthy last year, where he was scoring 26 points like per game. I think it was only like 3 weeks, but like
It counts.
it counts, and he was scoring around 26. So there's no reason to think that guy isn't there still, and like it was the same offense he has now, so he should be locked in for
I mean,
RB1s.
we're talking about a generational talent at running back, and always on a shit offense. He is still an absolute insane talent,
Yeah.
and he is. If you listen to a couple reports or interviews with him, he's saying he fully trusts his knee now. He said last year he did not trust his knee, the one he got the ACL tear in, which you love to hear as a fantasy owner. And yeah, we could see him. He was RB1 his rookie year, right? That did happen. I'm pretty sure.
I think so.
He was the top. He was at least top of the running back his rookie year, so he definitely has the upside to be right along Jonathan Taylor, Eckler, and McCaffrey this year. I could absolutely see that. Of course, a little more risky with the injuries, but a great mid-round second pick to anchor your team.
Like Saquon.
He's a Penn State guy, so
Yeah.
we'll go support Saquon Barkley.
Yeah. That's the end of our tier 3. These are the last, in my opinion, like elite running backs. If I'm going to draft this year, I'm definitely aiming to have at least one of these guys. If you can come out of a draft with 2 of these guys on your team, I think you're looking really good as a start.
So those are our top 10 going into tier 4 now. And starting off with Aaron Jones, Javonte Williams, Leonard Fournette, and then Nick Chubb. So like Aaron Jones, there's just to demonstrate the drop off, like you think like every week with Saquon you could get that 25 plus points. Aaron Jones, like you're just not thinking that as much or as like
It seems like he has one game every year where he scores like 5 or 6 touchdowns, but I feel like that's not
like,
as
you're not
likely.
thinking that multiple times. Like
Yeah, no.
if it happened last week, you're not saying, no, this can happen again.
Mhm.
And he has AJ Dillon competing with him for carries, and AJ Dillon like seems just like better in most like ability and stuff. So I don't know, he's just not that like thing. He has the touchdown upside any week, but just not somebody you really like want to have as your RB1 at least.
I don't hate him this year because I mean, if you look at the games where Devontae Adams, obviously the offense lost Devontae Adams, which is a huge change to any offense. If you look at the games where Devontae Adams was not in last year, Aaron Jones was targeted like crazy. Like he was targeted more than any wide receiver. It was absolutely nuts. So he does have the upside to get that many targets. However, that was not a normal game script. Like now they've had a whole season or a whole offseason without Devontae Adams to actually plan around that. So we could definitely see Dillon leading the backfield and carries this year. I think that's actually the most likely outcome. We could also see Dillon taking the goal line work, which that's the big killer in my opinion for Aaron Jones. He'll still get his touchdowns, I'm sure, but I wouldn't be surprised if AJ Dillon finished the year with like 15, 16 touchdowns and Aaron Jones had like 4 on the ground and like a couple through the air. Like I think he's going to be one of the best receiving backs in the league, but you're really losing a lot of upside. With all those goal line carries going to AJ Dillon and just like the normal carries too.
Similar with Javonte, is there's somebody competing with carries, except Javonte is on the up of his career.
Yeah, the clearly better back in that backfield.
And like Melvin Gordon just needs to quit football. And then Javonte would be like what, tier 2?
Javonte would, in my opinion, easily be tier 2 with Cook and Najee.
So he has like that talent in what, tier 4, like here, like he has so much upside. And if they just put him in the game script more and they just feed him the ball, he'll be great. I love him.
Yeah, he is rising in my ranks because if you watch the small interview that Melvin Gordon did, he said that he feels that the Broncos are trying to feature Javonte Williams more, and like feature only means he's probably only get 60 to 65% of the touches, but that's all you really need, especially when you're as efficient as Javonte Williams was last year, and you're going to be in a much better offense. Russell Wilson at the helm. He's got high touchdown upside. Now Melvin Gordon is going to take some of those, but if Melvin Gordon goes down, Javonte Williams is a league winner.
Right on that.
Have a comment?
We should take a trip to Denver with Jeff, and then we can announce from Denver. Oh, Melvin Gordon's out for the year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. Oh, actually, he had to retire.
Oh,
and then they're like, Melvin Gordon, what happened? And he's like, bad take.
Yeah, I can see. I would actually be surprised if Javonte Williams is not at least mid-round first-round pick next year because Melvin Gordon's going to be gone. Javonte's going to be just an absolute stud next year.
Can't wait.
So the next player is playoff Lenny, bowling
Bowling
ball,
ball. Yep.
Leonard Fournette. I had him in last year in a couple leagues, and he was very good. He catches a lot of passes from Tom Brady, who can't seem to throw more than 5 yards sometimes. He just has that safety blanket in Fournette, and I absolutely love watching that. He'd get like 3 plays in a row where he'd get like 5-yard dump offs. I'm like, yeah, it's 1.5 points every time. It was beautiful.
He did do that a lot.
He
He's
so many
watching
games.
games and he was just
There were games where
Pound them.
Leonard Fournette had 18 points and 12 of it was from receptions. Like, it was ridiculous. He has decent touchdown upside. I mean, they like to throw the ball at the goal line a lot. Like Mike Evans is going to get his red zone targets, but he's probably good for about 10 touchdowns, I'd say, on the year. The main concern I have with Fournette this year is that they brought in Rachaad White in the draft. And now, while he's not an immediate threat, I have a bad feeling that if Fournette gets hurt this year, which he does have a decent injury history, that Rachaad White would step in, obviously, when he's gone. And then when Fournette comes back, I have a feeling that Rachaad White could keep his spot. And, you know, instead of Fournette getting 70% of the work, he gets 55%. And that's, well, it's still a valuable fantasy piece. That's not a running back one, like how we would like.
I remember reading about Rachaad White, like coming out of college, that he's a like receiving back, like he specializes in that. So you're kind of looking like at that offense. If they use him as a third down back a lot, that takes away Fournette's targets. And you said he's a blanket for Tom Brady. He's a very weighted blanket given his size.
Yeah, it's a very weighted blanket.
Hopefully his conditioning is there and everything, but if he's not in
Probably
in shape,
though. I don't think it's a big thing.
Has anybody heard anything about the conditioning? Or
No, I think that went away.
it's just
he's just a big
Yeah,
man.
no. They also have Giovanni Bernard, who's another just pass.
Giovanni Bernard's terrible. Isn't he?
Yeah, but like it's a little bit concerning that he's the only back that can actually run the ball on the team.
Yeah.
Speaking of running the ball, Nick Chubb is the last player on this tier.
Yeah. He's just consistent. He's been consistent for years. He's just done the same thing every year.
Yeah,
Like he's not
He's a
like,
boring pick.
he's
he's a very boring pick. You're gonna get him in the late second, early third round.
My magazine actually says
Yeah,
pick
his-
of the year.
Yeah.
First round pick.
Yeah, no, he's gonna get in late second, early third. Very boring low end RB1, high end RB2. He's gonna have his bad weeks kind of like Henry. He's gonna have his good weeks like Henry. The main
worse.
talking point with Nick Chubb, I'd say, is the quarterback situation
Yep.
he has there, obviously. When Watson's out for the first 11 games of the season, they might lean more on Chubb, which could be a good thing or could be a bad thing. I could see that offense being a very bad offense for the first 11 weeks, or he could be a very just bad player, or he could have like, you know, if he carries a team, he could also be a good player, you know.
But he could also carry the team and then Watson's there and then he doesn't have to carry and that's playoffs. And then
Well,
you
I think
lose
when Watson
some
there,
stuff,
like an upgrade to the offense is never gonna be that big of a knock on a running back. It's usually an upgrade on the running back. Like when Watson's there, I could see Chubb having 2 touchdowns a game upside versus when he's not there, you're getting 1 touchdown if you're lucky. Like they're not gonna score a whole lot of points. So
He's got a great line.
yeah, he's very safe. He's not gonna bust unless he gets hurt, but that's the point. And then Kareem Hunt also has a chance to leave, which he probably wouldn't get too much more work if Kareem Hunt left, but something to like that.
Like,
Maybe a couple more
Hunt's
receptions.
one of the more like
I
active
think they'd bring in.
RB2s.
I think Dearness Johnson would get the more work though
That's true.
if he left. But I think he might get a couple more receptions,
Yeah.
which would be nice.
But
So tier 5 now. These are so we're now exiting like that second, third round. Now we're entering kind of like the end of the third, early fourth round. And this zone is a little bit more shaky. So like up there you have your running backs that are kind of like guaranteed to be good, very safe picks. Now you have your more risky picks.
yeah.
And in this first year we had Etienne, Ezekiel Elliott, Breece Hall, and Cam Akers. I'm talking about Etienne, Dakota.
I would love
I can do that.
about Travis Etienne. He like him and Najee are just like my 2 favorite players, like non-Eagles in the league. And Travis Etienne hasn't even played like a snap, but like just going back to college, he was like one of the best running backs in college every year. Him and Trevor Lawrence were just lighting up defenses for 4 years there. Like he's gonna get into Jacksonville, and he just like James Robinson, I feel like is kind of out of the picture of his torn Achilles, kind of off of that. So
He
there's
has been like progressing fast though.
Yeah.
I don't know, it's an
I haven't seen-
Achilles, and like Travis Etienne is just so talented. Like with the PPR, especially, he's gonna have so many catches, And him and Trevor just I think they had that connection, like that chemistry. And when he was drafted last year, like Urban Meyer wanted to make him like some hybrid, like running back receiver, like almost like a slot receiver. So I was hearing like reports that he could be like that this year too with Doug Peterson. So hopefully, like we love Doug Peterson. He's a great coach, wants the Super Bowl. So he goes down to Jacksonville. And he's like Travis Etienne. He's a stud. I'm going to utilize him as much as possible. So I'm just all in on Travis Etienne. I took him in Dynasty. I'll take him in redraft. I'll take him in every single league. I just can't get enough of Travis Etienne.
He could definitely be this year's DeAndre Swift if you had him before he got hurt last year, where he was a middle running back one that you got later on in drafts. Zeke is the next player on the list here. A very polarizing player. We obviously don't like Zeke as Eagles fans. However, you have to recognize that he's on a good offense. He's going to have the opportunity. They're paying him that money.
Yeah.
He was injured last year. He had the torn PCL or something like that. I don't know.
I think it was BCL.
So he had something like that. And after he tore that, he was much less efficient while still getting the same amount of work. So maybe you can attribute his lack of production to that injury. He really is just locked into his workload, though. Like as much as I like Tony Pollard as a player, Zeke is not going to get less touches. Like he's just not. Like,
Being paid way too much.
yeah, he's getting paid so much money, and Jerry Jones loves him, so he's just going to get those touches. He's going to score touchdowns. As much as I hate to say, I think he's actually quite a good pick this year. If you can get him in the 4th round, maybe if you go wide receiver in the heavy in the first couple rounds, you get him as your running back 2, even running back 1. I don't hate that. He's pretty durable, even though he had the 1 injury last year. He's usually a pretty durable player. So
You can build a good team with him as an RB2.
yeah, as much as I hate to say, I do like Zeke this year as a mid-round pick. Same with that deal.
That
I
goes,
agree.
that goes to Hall. And he's like kind of a big question mark, huge upside because we haven't like the rookie and it's on a very young offense. And he could be like a really good RB2 or like a RB3 and not produce much, and you put him in a flex and doesn't really do anything. But like the upside's there, and if you're taking like between him and Zeke, let's say you have a good RB1 and you want to go for the upside, like you could take him. And yeah,
Definitely a little bit scary with Mekhi Becton going down. Zach Wilson looking like just absolute trash in his preseason game. Like, in order to be a running back with tons of upside, you have to be on a good offense. And while the offense is looking up, it still could be very bad. I was very high on him, but they have pieces going down all over the place on the offense. So maybe next year for Breece Hall. Next year could definitely be Breece Hall breakout year, but this year might be a little bit of a hold your horses on that one, especially with Michael Carter, who was accidentally a picture here. We don't have the picture of Breece Hall. Michael Carter is definitely going to take some work, especially in the first half of the year.
Yeah.
So then rounding off this tier is Cam Akers. So this tier is a bunch of question marks. Really, Cam Akers tore his Achilles last year, has Wolverine-like regenerative abilities. Came back within like 5 months. Looked like trash, but he still played, which is good for him. Once again, a player with a ton of upside, just the lead running back on one of the best offenses in the league, could be the best offense in the league. Like huge touchdown upside. If he plays well, it could be an absolute animal. It's just a big question mark if he looked terrible last year. Still coming off the injury, like he could re-injure himself. It's just scary. Akers, he's going a little bit too high for my liking. I think he's like a low 4th round pick. I'd just rather take the wide receivers there. I like the wide receivers a lot more in that 4th round.
The reason he's going so high is just because it's in such a good position. Like you can put any running back there and they'll probably do well.
Yeah.
As long as they're like healthy. And that's what we don't know, I guess. So
yeah, I think that Zeke and Etienne I'm really high on this year. And Hall and Akers I think I'll be staying away from.
I was big on Hall, and then now I'm steering clear of him just because his redraft price is going up, and his value, in my opinion, is going down. Akers is just a little too scary for me.
Yeah.
So then we have 2 tiers left. This last tier is a very small one. We have James Conner and AJ Dillon. Now, before you go jump in those comments, all 3 of you, James Conner, in my opinion, is one of the worst picks in fantasy this year. He was so overvalued last year because of his extremely high touchdown rate. He
He got so many.
He gets so many touchdowns. He had
He's
like
terrible.
he's terrible.
He's
He really sucks. Like he really is not a good running back. People think like, oh, the last year of Steelers he was just injured. No, he's just sucks. He just sucked. He's always sucked. And he's on an okay offense.
He's cancer though.
He did be good.
Very
Good
good
cancer,
friend.
good for you. But for in terms of football, you're just not good. And they brought in Darrell Williams. They have who else is there?
They drafted or
You
not?
know,
Eno
Benjamin.
Benjamin. a
Eno
couple years
Benjamin.
ago.
Yeah, so they have two like okay running backs. I think Darrell Williams could actually take over more of a role than people think he's going to take. I think he takes pretty much the whole Chase Edmonds role. Which makes him a pretty valuable pick later on in drafts. But James Conner was not good last year. He caught, I think, 95% of his targets, which is just
That's insane.
easy unrealistic to happen.
So
Yeah.
insane.
And he scored on like 10% of his carries, which is also
That's
ridiculous.
Thing's not gonna happen again.
No, he's going to experience tons of regression. He's a player who's going before like half the guys on this list. So let your uncle, your drunk uncle who's drafting with you, let him take him. You be smart. You wait. You take Etienne. You take Zeke. You take the next guy on the list, AJ Dillon.
Yeah,
You want to talk about him?
I love it.
Oh, yeah, I love
they
AJ
don't
Dillon.
coach.
He's a great back, young. He's Aaron Jones, but better. And the Packers just need to give him the ball instead of Aaron Jones. And then
He's a good player.
Aaron Jones right there. Aaron
He's
Jones,
Derrick Henry, but younger.
take him off, throw him off the list. And you're
You
walk.
put him up there.
We put him up there.
Yeah, I mean, like he's a player who's going to step into a huge workload this year. He has over 1,000 yards rushing last year. He reminds me of a young Derrick Henry, kind of primed for that huge breakout year. I could see him leading the league in yards per carry. I could see him leading the league in touchdowns, and he's going to get his receiving work too. They're not shy of using him in the receiving game. So,
Yeah.
and if Aaron Jones goes down, holy shit, he's going to be a
Yeah.
mid to high end RB1. Like he's just a league winner.
That's what I just did. I
Goes down.
took Aaron off the list and I threw him
He had
away.
more touches like towards the end of the
Uh-huh.
game than Aaron Jones did. Like I think this is the year they really just want to let AJ Dillon
They're changing up guard.
loose. Yeah. Like Aaron Jones, he is the second like most in targets returning,
Mhm.
him and Alan Lazard. So like Jones might be used more in like the pass catching role, and then in terms of like the ground game, like that's gonna be AJ Dillon.
Yeah.
And when he gets to the goal line, it's AJ Dillon, and he's 250 pounds of just
Muscle. This squats.
Jumping.
Holy shit. They're like this big. Anyway, Aaron Jones is a player you could see being almost as like a slot receiver this year instead of a running back. Like the backfield can very easily yield two running back ones, in my opinion. Both of them can both feast. So our last tier here, some very scary players and some high upside players, I'd say too. The first one I'd have here
Pretty
is
scary.
Montgomery.
That's
I am
scary.
steering so clear of this man. However, I still have to rank him somewhat high because he has the workload for now at least. I think he is someone who could lose the workload throughout the year. Last year when he was out, what's his name? Julio Herbert came in and was very, very good. And I thought that when Monty came back, it was more of a 50-50, 60-40 split. No, we gave it all to Montgomery. And you know what he did? He sucked.
Yeah.
So I think this year with the new coach, they realize they have two talented running backs and it's more of a 60-40 split. Montgomery is going to need to score touchdowns to be a fantasy asset. Justin Fields is not going to check down a lot. He's going to run instead. He's not going to get the targets. He's on a bad O-line. He's on a bad offense. Like he's going to need some luck, some James Conner type luck to perform. So I'm steering clear of him. I'm not taking him any reps for sure.
Oh,
No.
good thing they improved their line. Oh wait, no. Good thing they improved anything there.
Yeah, no, the team sucks. The team's bad. And like I used to like Montgomery. I think you need to steer clear of
If you were drafting Montgomery a couple years ago, you could say, yeah, he's good. Not anymore.
no, definitely not anymore.
He needs to get out of there. I think he's a free agent at the end of this year, so probably a new team to play.
Maybe the Eagles.
Yeah.
Jordan Howard 2.0.
Chicago Bears are not it.
So you want to take next player?
The next one's Chase Edmonds.
I'll bring
Why
it.
is
Chase Edmonds
Edmonds-
has the upside to be a stud
I
running
didn't
back this year.
realize that he was 22.
Chase Edmonds is a great running back on a high upside team. He's on a team that has
I was looking at Edmonds.
He's tripping, right?
So,
Where's Chase Edmonds?
make
on
my
here?
point, make
Is
my
this
point.
Chase Edmonds?
no.
That's Miles
Miles
Gaskin.
Gaskin.
He's Chase Edmonds now.
No, Chase Edmonds over here. It's on the fucking thing. He's good. Chase Edmonds is a receiving back who also has some talented legs. He can run the ball too. New coach coming over from San Fran. Obviously, switching teams. He's right now the RB1 on the team. They have a ton of running backs on the team, but I just can't imagine that they all get fed. I think Miles Gaskin is trash. I think Sonny Michelle is trash.
Raheem Mostert.
Raheem Mostert is going to get hurt by week 1. Everyone knows that. He's terrible.
Terrible.
Chase Edmonds is going to get all the dump offs in the road from Tua. They're not going to be able to. There's going to be so much attention on the outside with Waddle and Hill there. I think Chase Edmonds is a sneaky good pick, and you're getting him later in drafts. I think he's like a 7th, 8th round pick. Like you can get him back there as your RB2 if you go hero RB build, or as your RB3. Like he's a nice flex play in my opinion. He's going to have a lot of PPR points, and he's probably going to get some touchdowns too. Like he's risky. He's definitely risky, but I think he has really good upside, which is what I'm shooting for after these top running backs are off the board already. Because there's not a lot of safety left. Like think of the players that are safe left. You have you have Josh Jacobs is like your safe player. He sucks. Like I want
I'd
upside.
rather have Josh Jacobs there.
I want the upside of Chase Edmonds.
Josh Jacobs is upside.
The upside to lose his fucking job. Like he's just terrible.
No, he's not terrible.
I think
On the worst line in the league, like he's just bad.
Yes, but the offense is so
That's
improved.
part of it.
Jacobs is definitely better than any of the Miami running backs. The whole
I
Miami
can
running
see.
back
I kind of agree with you, but I just have I have a good feeling about Chase Edmonds this year. I think he's going to have a pretty good year. I think his floor is kind of RB like mid-20s if he stays healthy. He's going to get the receiving work. And he's going to get.
Because last year got Chase Evans and
Last year he had competition. He had no competition. His competition is fucking Miles Gaskin.
Raheem Mostert.
Raheem Mostert. Like he's going to get
Okay,
used.
and Mike
until he-
McDaniel, the head coach, was San Francisco's coach, like
He's a-
offensive coordinator, I think,
Yeah.
the last couple of years. So Raheem Mostert telling him over, and he had success when he was healthy.
His success on his 2 carries before he popped his fucking leg. Like he's
He had
Raheem Mostert
success.
is 10 times more injured than Christian McCaffrey.
I mean, that's just true, but
This is the year he stays healthy. How about that?
remember when he did that last year? He got hurt on the first play.
I agree. I remember saying,
was
I was like,
hilarious.
Raheem Mostert is going to get hurt. And I didn't think it'd be the first play, but it was going literally the second play of the season that Raheem Mostert went down for the entire year. Like I love the guy. He's very quick. He's a cool running back, but he's just not it for fantasy. Chase Edmonds is going to be a good pick in the late rounds, unlike David Montgomery.
Yeah.
I don't know Tony Pollard.
Yeah, Tony Pollard's a good pick in the late rounds.
I agree.
And unlike Edmonds, he is like just probably a second running back on the team, and like
Yeah, he's never gonna like play more than Zeke, even
No,
if he is maybe
but-
better.
Unless
than
he
Zach.
like dots.
but he could get hurt.
He
And
could
if
get
he
hurt.
does, Pollard could be top 15,
No, Pollard's top
10.
Pollard's top 10, I think. If
If he's getting all that work, because there was no running backs behind those two
Yeah.
guys.
it was like Corey Clement last year. I'm not sure who the fuck's there now, but it's no one good.
So
Yeah,
Zeke gets hurt, you get a top 10 running back.
But even with
And
he getting hurt.
Yeah.
Like he's up there.
but with him getting hurt.
Yeah. So
We're
he's
just praying on
so
Zeke's
after we
downfall.
get rid of Melvin Gordon,
Yeah.
back down to Dallas,
Yeah.
and we announce breaking news: Zeke Elliott is retired from football. They're like, Zeke, why'd you retire?
he goes going to Cancun.
Bad take, going to do it,
Yeah,
and then he
no,
walks off.
no, Pollard's a slightly worse AJ Dillon in my opinion.
Yeah.
He's gonna get more receiving work, he's gonna get way less touches, obviously. But last year you could see when Zeke was on the field, Pollard still produced as like a low end RB2.
We got touchdowns too.
He's a player that I'm definitely not afraid to start, despite being RB2 on his team. And he's got the upside, obviously. Zeke doesn't really go down, but if Zeke was to go down, Pollard is a league winner, in my opinion. And to round off the list, someone who's flying up my board right now is Ramondre Stevenson. Damian Harris sucks, despite everyone thinking he's good. He's just not that good. He's another one of those like James
He's not
Conner
very
type
good.
players where he was just extremely lucky last year in touchdowns, and that's why he was so valuable in fantasy. He had like 18 touchdowns or something. Damian Harris did. He's not going to do that again. He can't catch the ball. You can agree with that.
18.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, he can't catch really.
He can't catch. Ron Stevenson can catch. This is a team that runs the ball almost more than anyone else in the league. On a decent offense, it's not great. I think Ramondre Stevenson is a player you'd throw on your bench for the first couple weeks of the year, and I genuinely believe that Ramondre Stevenson will take over the lead back role of the Patriots by about week 8. He's a player that I think can win leagues going into the fantasy playoffs. I think he can produce as like a high end RB2, low end or mid RB2. and I think he can just be an absolute monster, especially in PPR.
He has a very high ceiling. Like looking at people like I don't know why you draft Montgomery over him. Like in this.
And the thing is, too, you can definitely
Let's
get.
just put Montgomery
Oh no. But
And there.
especially like in your hometown leagues with your uncles and your brothers, like they're gonna take Montgomery over Ramondre Stevenson by like 5 rounds. Like it's not
Yeah.
really close.
To fit the name.
Montgomery's gonna go probably in the 5th round of your leagues, and Ramondre Stevenson's I think they're like in the 8th, 9th, 10th round. Like
Yeah.
he's a great late round pick. I just have him ranked way high. I guess you can do a couple honorable mentions.
Yeah.
J.K. Dobbins, a risky pick coming off the ACL last year, which has a high injury rate, and he's not fully healthy yet, but
in that offense.
and a good offense. They have a slightly worse line, but he could have high touchdown upside. How do you fucking see Josh Jacobs? Okay, Josh Jacobs, honorable mention. He fucking sucks,
He doesn't suck.
but he is not going to get receiving work. The
I
O-line
don't like
sucks.
it.
What did Josh Jacobs do to you? Can we
Josh
talk about
Jacobs,
this?
he just sucks. I don't want to talk about him in this video.
No,
But Josh Jacobs,
I'm talking about him right now. You have to explain why you hate him.
Josh Jacobs is a player that gets 12 carries for 22 yards and 2 touchdowns that he falls as fast into the end zone. That's all he can do. And every single year, it's the same thing. That's his whole upside. It's like James Conner, right? There's a parallel of these players. They're players that have bad yards per carry. They don't look good when they're running the ball, and then they fall into the end zone twice in the game, and they fuck you over because of that. And I'm not wrong.
That's why I don't.
Josh Jacobs, there's a good chance that Josh Jacobs.
They're just so
screws
lucky.
up. Yes, he's a lucky player. Josh Jacobs is a player that can end up
His luck's gonna run out.
exactly. He can end up splitting carries with like Zamir White. By the end of the year, not splitting carries. It can be closer. It can be closer to like
Whoa.
65-35, maybe 60-40. Kenny Drake's still there, right?
Yes.
Kenny Drake is still there. He's gonna catch the ball.
He's still there.
Yes.
Like it's gonna be like there's gonna be a lot of people that are gonna need the ball, and they're just gonna want to throw it more than any other team. Like they're gonna be a team that throws the ball top 5 in the league, and when they do run the ball, he's just gonna get swallowed up because the O line sucks. Like his upside every week is quite literally like 70 yards rushing and 2 touchdowns, and like maybe a catch.
He could have like a 15 touchdown type season like Connor because that offense is going to be so
Mhm.
explosive. Like I'm with you with the O line. Like the O line is terrible, and I
Mhm.
think that's what holds him back from being higher on the list because like it's the worst.
Take it back. He's not on the list. You've put him.
I put
He's
him
not
on the
supposed to be on the list.
Okay, but like you know, in like D tier, E tier, something like that. Like the O line is terrible, and that's holding him back. But I think you know with Adams there, so now you've got this really dynamic offense throwing the ball. You get down to the red zone, the goal line. Like he's getting those carries, so I think he has that upside of like 2 touchdowns a week. Like he can have 15.
It's not going to be every single week, and he's gonna. It's just like the same reason why I'm a little off on Henry this year. He's gonna have weeks where he puts up. I mean, his upside's like 20 points, and he's gonna have so many weeks where he scores 3.8 points, 4.2 points, and you just don't want that out of someone that's probably being drafted as like a mid running back too. You got to remember he's got name value as well.
Yeah, I guess, but I don't know. I'm taking him over. I'm taking him over James Conner. That's where I would put him personally.
Well, James Conner is getting taken in the 4th round, so you can take Josh Jacobs in the 4th round.
I would-
Anyway. Thanks for watching. If you made it this far or you scrolled to the end, I don't blame you. We appreciate you. Hit subscribe.
Like the video.
Like the video, please. Share it to some friends, unless you don't want to. They're good rankings. Use these to win your leagues, you know?
If you didn't watch the wide receiver one, go watch
Check
that.
that out. In the next week at least, there will be quarterback rankings coming out, tight end rankings coming out, another podcast for the 5 of you guys who watch that. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.